let's start the session. So for the people who know me, thanks a lot. And for the people who are not aware of me, my name is Dr. Shahbaz Ansari. I am a graduate of SMC, Karachi, Pakistan. I graduated in December 2017, and I did my house job in the consecutive year of 2018. I did clear my postgraduate exam of FCPS Part 1 in surgery on the later year, which was 2019. I did my I started my surgical residency in surgery, but I had different plans in my mind. So I left my residency as I did not like my residency. So I initiated my PLAB journey. And once I had initiated my PLAB1 journey, I did not have a lot of information, and all the information which is on the internet, it's either vague or it tells you a lot of ghost stories that it's a very difficult exam. You won't be able to clear the IELTS. Cannot hear you properly. Well, give it a little time. It might be an internet issue. So yeah, just give it a little time. So the issues that I dealt with, I had to grab a lot of information, and some things somebody told me, some things were told me from a different person. So all the sources were not that, what do you call it, authentic. So gathering all the information, I started my PLAB journey in 2019 November, where I gave my OET. Then in the consecutive year of March 2020, I gave my PLAB 1. And then I initially booked my PLAB 2 in August 2020. But because of the COVID scenario, I was unable to give it. So I booked my exam on the later year of 2021 in March. And alhamdulillah, I cleared my exam with flying colors. And as of now, I am fully GMC registered and licensed to practice in the UK. And currently, I'm working on my NHS profile in order to apply for jobs of my suiting, and waiting myself to initiate my NHS journey to work in UK. So this is the introduction, and what this session contains is basically the questions that all the juniors have about PLAB. What is PLAB? What are the prerequisites? What are the requirements? How long is this journey? How much the expenditure is? So it's basically an introduction to all the questions that all the juniors have, which are either thinking to initiate this PLAB journey, or are gathering all the information, or want to pursue this journey. So comparing to USMLE, which has 3 steps, this exam also has 3 steps, which is an OET, which is a prerequisites, OET/IELTS, which is a prerequisite of PLAB 1, which is the part 1 of the exam. Although it's actually a part 2, because OET or IELTS is the part 1. So it's OET slash IELTS. Then there is PLAB 1, then there is PLAB 2, and after that score, you've got to have a GMC registration, and then you're good to go. So originally, in a nutshell, you have got only 3 steps that you have to clear. As you have to work in UK, and UK language is English, so you have to have a competent grip on the English language, for which you have to clear an English exam. So the exam which you have to clear for this PLAB route is either IELTS or OET, which is an occupational English test. Once you clear either of these exams, your prerequisite is filled for PLAB 1, and you can sit in PLAB 1 once you have cleared this exam. So what is the passing criteria? In order to fill in the prerequisite of PLAB 1, if you sit in IELTS, you have to sit in IELTS Academia, which tests you on 4 aspects: reading, listening, writing, and speaking. And you have to have a banding score of 7 in each of these aspects, plus an overall 7.5 to meet the criteria. And if I talk about OET, you have to have 350 above score in your OET exam, and the level of competence is more or less the same. In OET, they also check you on reading, listening, writing, and speaking itself. Okay. And it was a very big hurdle for doctors initially, because IELTS is basically the literature concern and grammar concern, as we do speak a lot of the many of the time in English and write in English. But the things that IELTS people are judging you on is the grammar and how the letter structure, the sentence structure, which we are not very good at. We do speak a very good English, but on the writing basis, the doctors do lack. It's pretty evident everywhere. But if you're able to give it, that's really good. But if you're not, you're confident enough that you can sit in the IELTS, you might as well go for OET itself. So talking about me, I did give my IELTS attempt in October 2019. I gave one IELTS attempt, and I got the rest of the scores were managed, but the writing score was 6.5, and I was very impatient. I could have improved, but I did not want to waste any time. So I directly went for OET itself, and I gave my OET attempt in the next month, which was November 2019, and I prepped around for 1 week or 2 week. I was able to clear the exam, and yeah. So so far, is am I audible? Am I going too fast? Am I going too slow? Am I talking very difficult? Because this is a session for you people itself. So the more you interact, the better it is, and the more I enjoy. Because I can talk, I can keep talking, but if I am answering all your questions, then that's really good. Okay, so thank you. So talking about IELTS and OET. So the difference between IELTS and OET is the things that OET basically. So I would advise all of the doctors to consider OET, because it's less. It's very easy. It's very convenient, because the amount of English being judged in both the exam is more or less the same. But the lenient part for doctors in OET is that all of the material which is given in OET revolves around medicine. Considering if you have got a reading task, the reading task will be medicine related. It might be a medical research, it might be a medical journal kind of article. So yeah, that's a bit easier. It might be some disease related thing. So yeah, that's easy. Speaking is basically a medical consultation where you talk to the patient, where you have given a task, and you're basically trying to counsel the patient for the given task. It might be a chickenpox patient, it might be any case. All the things are given to you, you have to just speak it in your own way and convey your message. Talking about listening. Listening is basically in OET, the task will be where a consultation is being taken or given in between a patient and a doctor, and you're listening that consultation and you're answering them accordingly. So, considering all the medical words and all the medical jargons, that's pretty easy for a doctor because they are listing all the words. It might be difficult for people who belong from a non-medical background. For doctors, it's a piece of cake. And talking about writing, which is the by far the difficult most aspect of IELTS. Compared to IELTS, it's relatively easy, because in IELTS you've got two tasks, but in OET you've got only one task, where you will be given a very long kind of article where you have a patient consultation visits and all the details. You basically have to refer that patient to a concerned department, and you have to write a referral letter. That's all. So this is OET. Yeah, all the things, all the literature revolves around the medicine profession. So which is a bit easy for the doctors, and because of the booming of OET, people are actually considering to go to UK, because IELTS was a very big hurdle initially. So the criteria to meet for PLAB 1 in OET is 350 above scoring in all the aspect. And in IELTS, you have to have a 7 in each band and 7.5 overall. Okay. So the amount of time which I took to prepare for OET was around 10 days to 2 weeks. That's all. If you have very good English, if you've got a sound English, you can give it before without practice, and all the resources which I use are available online. I considered listening lectures of E to J, which is available on YouTube, which is free. And all the people who want any other stuff, I might be able to share the link, or will be able to upload any of the stuff in the group later on if any of my fellow doctor needs it. Okay. And so yeah, this is for OET. So once you clear your OET or IELTS, you do meet all the requirement criteria in order to sit for your PLAB 1. But the thing is, in order to sit for PLAB 1, if you are a medical student, be it final year or fourth year, you will have to have a graduation date in order to sit in your PLAB 1 exam. If you are a graduate, you can sit in PLAB 1 exam. Okay. So for the medical students, you can sit in OET, but in order to sit in PLAB 1, you'll have to have a graduation date. And yeah, so yes, is it easy to get OET seats? It's relatively easy because a lot of dates are being given, and OET exam is taken frequently. And if you are unable to find a seat in Pakistan, you might as well give it in another country if you have got the resources to give it. So yeah, once you clear your OET, then you sit in your PLAB 1. And now the question arises, what is PLAB 1? So PLAB 1 is basically a theory exam. PLAB 1 is an MCQ based question which consists of 180 questions, 80 MCQs, which is to be taken in 180 minutes, which is 3 hours without any breaks. So you have to attempt 180 questions in 180 minutes, and the passing score is basically kept upon the percentile system. If the overall score is high, the passing score might be high. If the overall score is low, the passing score might be low. For instance, my passing score in PLAB 1 was around 127 or 128, but the passing score was 101. So that's a very big difference. So in order to pass in my attempt, you only had to get 101 score out of 180. So that's pretty doable. And now the question arises, what is the stuff, what is the content, and what is the theory that is to be tested in PLAB 1? So the things which are being tested in PLAB 1 is basically the final year stuff, which is medicine, surgery, peds, and gynae. That's what it is tested on the PLAB 1 exam. No biochemistry, no pharmacology, no microbiology, no basics is being asked in the PLAB 1 exam. It's all the final year stuff, and that is the reason it's a bit easy. It's a bit doable compared to USMLE, and you don't need a lot of time to study for PLAB 1. And coming to sources, the sources which I use and the sources which I recommend. In order to give your PLAB 1, the sources which I used was USMLE First Aid Step 1 as a reference book. And after that, I just did Plabable, which is an online question bank for PLAB 1 itself. And yeah, and if you have a sound knowledge about the medicine, surgery, and peds and gynae, you can sit the exam. The and the amount of time which I gave in order to prepare for PLAB 1 was around 1 month to 1.5 months, because my exam of PLAB 1 I booked was on the 11th of January, and my exam was on the 14th or 15th of March of 2020. So I had like 2 months from my exam to the booking date, and I studied dedicated study of 1.5 months. But do not put me as a nidus, because I had a pretty decent knowledge of the medicine, surgery, and gynae, because I was in touch with the medicine earlier, because I was doing my residency and I had a grip on first aid. So that's upon you. uh, yes. So that's about PLAB 1. And once you give your PLAB 1, you'll have to wait for 45 days in order to get your results. And once you get your results, you'll be able to book your PLAB 2, which is a clinical skills exam. It's kind of an OSCE or OSPE, which final year students get. INENT does not come in PLAB 1 necessarily. You might as well get some questions, but if they're pretty generic. You said to sit in PLAB 1, a date of graduation is needed. Isn't it the one needs to have appropriate house job search? No, 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 no. I will be coming to that point, doctor. That's a pretty confusing point, but that's a really good question. First, it is for basic sciences. So, first, it does give you its and bits and hints of everything. Okay, so which that is what I used, and I had a pretty decent knowledge of overall sciences. Though I did not do a lot of resources or sources to study. And Plabable is basically the question bank which is generated and gathered by earlier PLAB students, and that is repeated every other year. So if you have got good knowledge, you can clear the exam. INENT, not necessarily. What about pathology? Pathology, it's all the final year stuff. In surgery, medicine, gynae, and knobs, all you study is amalgam and the aggregate of everything. It's not like in surgery, you don't study pathology. You do study pathology, but it's not that detailed. Hi, I just joined in. Would you kindly? Don't worry, doctor. I will. I've recorded this session, so you'll be able to see it later on. Can you give an overall? Yes, I will give in a fee structure as well. So coming to that question, uh, once you give your PLAB 1, then you give your PLAB 2. If you clear PLAB 2, then you go for GMC registration. Who can sit in OET? Anybody can sit in OET, be it a final year, be the fourth year, be it a person in house job or clinical internship, anybody can. But in order to sit in PLAB 1, you have to have a graduation date. So all the graduates can sit in PLAB 1. Okay. But in order to sit in PLAB 1 and PLAB 2, you don't necessarily have to have a house job. You don't necessarily have to have a clinical background of internship or residency or anything, because they are basically theory exams and OSCEs. Okay. So, yes, this is the thing. But once you clear your PLAB 2 and got your GMC registration, what you will do is, if you have done your house job or clinical internship, you will, in Pakistan, uh, the clinical internship or the house job is a 1 year experience, and after that you can sit in your residency exam or do any sort of post graduation thing. But in UK, the house job is of 2 years, which is called FY1 and FY2. And the clinical internship or house job which is done in Pakistan, that is basically recognized in UK. So if you do your house job or clinical internship in Pakistan, that FY1 thing is exempted. So you have done your FY1. And after that, if you tend to clear your PLAB exams and you got your GMC registration, what you'll be applying for directly is FY2. But if you don't want to do your house job here, you might as well go for FY1. And meanwhile, you clear your PLAB 1, PLABs. But the thing is that in order to clear PLAB 2 exam, if you have a sound knowledge of how to deal with the patient, how to address all the issues, it's a bit better, because you do know how to talk to a patient, you do know how to handle difficult situations, you do have the hang of the medicine and the its and bits of counseling on ethics, which you do in house job on daily basis. So yeah, and it is advisable to do your internship here, then apply for your GMC registration or directly go for FY2. So yeah, in order to sit in PLAB 1 or PLAB 2, house job is not necessarily a prerequisite. Okay. Uh, so yes, this is the overall view. Now, the fee structures. Well, OET, IELTS is around 35,000. I'm not sure what the conversion rate is, but it costed me around 35,000. And OET costs around 60 to 65,000 rupees. This is, I'm talking about Pakistani rupees. And so yeah, and but if you want to give your OET in some other country, so yeah, you'll have to add on the visa and the tickets charges. And after that, talking about PLAB 1, that also is not very expensive. It costs around 60 to 65,000 rupees. Well, it's around, it's in 300 pounds, 250 pounds. So whatever the conversion rate is, but overall it's around 60,000 to 65,000 Pakistani rupees. And after that, coming to PLAB 2, PLAB 2 is a bit pricey exam. It is around 850 or 900 pounds. Okay, and that's the overall journey. And in PLAB 2, you have to do that PLAB 2 phase, the visa charges, because that exam is only conducted in UK itself. So you have to have your visa charges, the ticket, the accommodation, if you want to attend an academy. That's overall, from starting your OET journey to getting your GMC registration, the overall expenditure of this whole process is around 10 to 12 lakh Pakistani rupees. It might be a bit up, it might be a bit low, depending upon how much do you spend. Okay. And talking about the timing, if the date issue is not a problem and you tend to clear all the exam consecutively without any gap, so the time schedule will be around 8 to 9 months in order to get your GMC registration and license to practice in UK. Because I'm saying that because my journey was started in November 2019, and ideally, if the COVID scenario wouldn't have happened, my journey would have ended in August 2020, where I booked my PLAB 2. But because of the COVID scenario, my date was cancelled, and I had to wait around 6 to 8 months in order to sit in my PLAB 2 exam and get my GMC registration. So that's the thing, you can never predict the ideal date, but ideally, if everything goes according to plan, it's around 8 to 9 months. So yeah, so far I how when the question answered. If you have any questions, you might as well ask me in the chat box, so I will be able to answer. Quite often on ING group and FB, I read comments that NHS is getting saturated and soon there will be no jobs available. Since now you are a part of NHS, could you please tell me how true is it? Should we prepare for it? Well, the thing is that UK is a very big country, and saturation eventually, well, talking about residencies in Pakistan, it's very difficult to get residencies in Pakistan itself. So that's a leap of faith you'll have to take. But talking about things online, they are pretty vague and they are not actual authentic things being told. It's landing your first job in UK. That's a bit tricky. It might take a bit of time, but yeah, it's a process which is worth it. So yeah, there's no right or wrong answer to it. Okay, and I have started my journey. I got my registration and license around 2 weeks or 3 weeks back. So yeah, I'll be updating about my journey, and once I get it, I'll be a better judge of the situation. For now, there are jobs, but you have to meet the criteria. And UK is this process is a bit slower, so that's the thing. But talking about saturation and desaturation and availability, saturation is everywhere, my dear doctor. In Pakistan, landing a residency is a very big thing. So yeah, how many attempts do we have? There is no limit to the attempts, but the OET thing will expire in 2 years. So in order to sit in PLAB 1, you have to have a valid OET, but in order to sit in PLAB 2, it's not necessary. But the other thing is that once you clear your PLAB 2 and you're applying for GMC, you have to have a valid OET or IELTS. It means that if you clear your OET in December or January 2021, your OET is valid for 2 years, which is January 2023. So ideally, you should clear all your PLAB 1 and PLAB 2 and apply for a GMC registration before that period ends, because you have to have a valid OET or IELTS once you're getting your GMC registration. And once you have given your PLAB 1, you have to give your PLAB 2 within 7 years. Okay. What's visa homework? Well, that's a very good question, doctor, and that's a whole new discussion that will we will be talking about. But I will be able to answer this question because that's a Pandora's box. So yeah, I will be uploading like the visa requirements and everything later on in the group. Okay, any chance for an IMG to become a surgeon? Yes, there are chances of IMGs to become a surgeon. Well, if you stay connected, or if am able to do these sessions more often, I might as well be able to tell you because I want to become a surgeon myself, and I cannot think anything but surgery. So yeah, it's a bit difficult, but it's doable. Did you join an academy for PLAB 2? Yes, I did join an academy for PLAB 2, but it depends upon you. I joined Aspire Academy, but if you want to join any other academy, I'm not endorsing Aspire Academy. But if you want to join another academy, if you can join an online session, if you don't need an academy, that's also fine. Is PLAB recognizable in any? Well, PLAB basically gets you a GMC registration, and GMC registration is basically a license to work in UK. Like the license to work in Pakistan is PMC that certificate. But if you get a GMC registration and you tend to have a sufficient amount of experience, you might as well be able to practice in Australia or New Zealand or Europe later on. So yeah, that's a good thing. Can you repeat requirements of PLAB 1 other than OET? The graduation date, doctor. You need to be a graduate from a medical school in order to sit in PLAB 1. Hello. How long does it take to become a consultant? Well, depends upon the field, doctor. If you want to become a surgeon, like I want to become a surgeon, it depends upon the field you want to go to. It takes around 8 to 10 years on paper, but in reality, it's a bit longer. It takes around 10 to 12 years because it's a bit of a tricky thing. That's a whole new discussion for another level. But if you want to become a GP, it takes 4 years. If you want 4 to 5 years, if you want to become a medical consultant, it takes around 7 to 8 years. If you want to become a consultant in surgery, it takes 10 to 12 years. Does DMC accept USMLE? Oh yes, apparently it is accepting USMLE, but they've got a very distinct criteria. If you meet it, you might as well check in the GMC portal, because they are allowing people to get their GMC license on the basis of USMLE. But if you have to meet the criteria, so in order to evaluate that, it's best to check it on the GMC website. You might meet the criteria. Is it difficult to get dates of PLAB 1? Well, for now, it's a bit difficult to get PLAB 1 dates in Pakistan because of the COVID scenario and because of the booming of OET. It's a bit difficult. Um, read a post. I read a post somewhere. Years were mentioned. Um, I'm not sure what you're talking about, Dr. Shazrar. What years were you meant? Do you are you talking about? How early should one apply for PLAB 1 registration after graduation? Well, if you have been a valid OET or IELTS, I would advise you to apply for PLAB 1 as soon as possible because I've seen it, the dates go like that. Yeah. So as soon as possible. And if you want to pursue the surgery and if you think that you are prepared, under prepared or immature attempts are not advised because failing an exam and then clearing it's very difficult. Yeah. And there are limited seats. Did you experience any racism in the medical field in the hospital? Oh no. Well, on the contrary, because the UK people were so nice, that was the very reason that I opted for UK myself. When I was traveling 2 years back, I met a lot of UK people and they were so nice. And once I went to UK, if you are a nice person, everybody's going to be nice to you. So yeah, well, racism is everywhere. In Pakistan also you face racism. So nobody's perfect. If someone secures band 7 in IELTS and 6.5, no, uh, it's not acceptable. You have to have 7 in each and 7.5 overall. If you want to improve, if you think you can improve, you can. And if you want to give an attempt, you may, but depends upon you. Depends upon you. I got a 6.5. I did not want to waste any time. I could have improved, but I did not want to waste any further time. Hello, doctor. Is IELTS and OET both accepted for PLAB? Yes. Yes, it is. Both are accepted. Hope you get the match call. Oh, thanks a lot, doctor. If PLAB seats are unavailable in Pakistan, can a person sit? Oh, yes, you can sit in OET or PLAB 1 in anywhere in the world. You can sit in UK as well. Can we practice? But you have to see the COVID situation and meet the COVID protocol because Pakistan is in the COVID list right now. So if you have a UK resident or you have another kind of visa, it's good. Can we practice another country like Australia or New Zealand directly after passing PLAB 1 and PLAB 2? No, it's just that you do meet the criteria to work, but you have to have a certain amount of experience in order to understand the protocols and how UK works. So yeah, you won't be able to start it initially, but later on, you will be accepted after a sufficient amount of experience in the NHS. Or you have to work in UK first for a certain period of time. Is there any connection of internship to them? Is there any connection of internship to them? Well, the internship that is done in Pakistan is recognized in UK, so you'll be exempted of the FY1, which is a foundation year one of the job in UK, and you'll be directly eligible for FY2, which is foundation year 2. What about your left? What about I left my FCPS journey because I didn't like it. Well, I wanted to be a better surgeon and I wanted to work on my ethical values and everything. So I didn't like it, so I left it. And nothing, it's just gone. Does it help if we have clinical attachment? Well, it's advisable to have clinical attachment because if you work in a set, if you have worked in a setup already, you do know the in and outs and the loopholes and how the system works. So yeah, if you tend to land on a clinical attachment, just go for it. Do we have to just pass? Yes, you just have to pass the exam. No, it does not matter. You've passed from one score, 0.5, 20, it does not matter. I got a score in PLAB 1 of 127 or 125, whereas the passing rate score was only 101. So a person had to just correct 101 questions from 180 questions. So if even if you tend to hit a lot of things by luck, you might as well pass, but just study, don't just go for luck. Do we have? Yes, you have to pass. Can you just elaborate on the training and non-training jobs? Well, that's going to be a very long discussion, doctor, but that's a really good question. I will be telling about the non-training job and training job after GMC registration later on, because the Zoom session only allows me to conduct a session for free for only 40 minutes. Why didn't you like the FCPS journey? Because I wanted more from life. I wanted to visit the world. I wanted to explore. So yeah, that's the reason. To secure a job after GMC, how much do the pre-existing audits help? Well, they do. They do help the research and the audits and all the extracurricular activities that you have done. If you've done any teaching, everything matters. If you have done it, it does boost your CV a lot. And audits, if you are doing audit, it's really good. If you have not done audit, if you can do audit, just go for it because they do mean a lot. What is the ideal score in PLAB 1? There's no ideal score. It's a percentile system. Yeah. In my exam, it was 101. What about research work, attending sessions? Yes, it does. It does. This is all the extracurricular activity, and the people in UK do admire if a doctor is involved in audits and research works and teachings. Yes, it does. It just boosts your CV. I did not know about these things earlier because I did not have a proper guidance. What is the significance of research in PLAB journey? It is recognizable. It does give you a lot of help later on. Well, the session will end in less than a minute. So for the questions I'm unable to answer, I'm really sorry. And it was really nice having you people. But if you want me to answer all these questions, you might as well post it in the group. And I'll be happy to share the information that I have, and I'll be uploading a feedback form in order to improve myself. So yeah, please care to fill that feedback form as well, so I can do a bit better later on. You just post the questions on the group. I will be able to answer all the questions to the best of my knowledge, because the session will end any second, and